Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good tomorrow, or whatever time it is, wherever you are right now. This is John Pershing Smith, or JP to my friends, and I'll be your host on this podcast today. Our story today is one that was written by Mr. Chris Sperry, Baseball Life LLC. In Nashville, Tennessee, during the week of January 1996, more than 4,000 baseball coaches descended upon the Opryland Hotel for the 52nd Annual ABCA Convention. 19 times since, many of the same professional college, high school, youth, international coaches from developing baseball nations have gathered for 2.5 days of clinic presentations and industry exhibits. I have attended all but 3 conventions in those 19 years, but 96 was special, not just because it was held in the home of country music, a town I'd always wanted to visit, but at the Opryland Hotel. Nashville in 96 was special. I learned that baseball, the thing that had brought 4,000 of us together, was merely a metaphor for my own life and those of the players I hoped to impact. While I waited in line to register, I heard other more veteran coaches rumbling about the lineup of speakers. One name kept popping up, always with the same sentiment. John Scalinos is here? Oh man, worth every penny of my airfare. Legendary American football and baseball coach from 1948 through 1991. Having sensed the size of the group during check-in, I woke early the next morning in order to assure myself a good seat near the stage. ABCA conventions have a certain party-like quality to them. They provide a wonderful opportunity to reconnect with old friends from a fraternal game that often spreads its coaches all over the country. I got there early the next morning and I was in heaven. After lunch, I returned to the convention hall and barely any seats were available. Disappointed in myself for losing my seat up front, I wondered what had pried all these coaches from their bar stools. I found the clinic schedule in my bag, 1:00 p.m., Coach John Scalinos. It was the man whose name I had heard buzzing around the lobby 2 days earlier. Could he be the reason that all 4,000 of these coaches had returned early to the convention hall? In 1996, Coach John Scalinos was 78 years old and 5 years retired from a college coaching career that began in 1948. He shuffled to the stage to an impressive standing ovation, wearing dark pants, a light blue shirt, and a string around his neck from which a home plate hung, a full-size, stark white home plate. After speaking for about 25 minutes, not once mentioning the home plate hanging around his neck, Coach Scalinos appeared to notice a snickering among some of the coaches. Even those who knew Coach Scalinos had to wonder exactly where he was going with this, or if he had simply forgotten about the home plate hanging around his neck since he got on stage. And finally he said, "You're probably all wondering why I'm wearing a home plate around my neck. Or maybe you think I escaped from Camarillo State Hospital," he said, his voice growing irascible. I laughed along with the others, acknowledging the possibility. "No," he continued, "I may be old, but I'm not yet crazy. The reason I stand before you today is to share with you baseball people what I've learned in my life and what I've learned about home plate in my 78 years. Several hands went up when Scalinos asked, "How many Little League coaches are in the room? Do you know how wide home plate is in Little League?" After a pause, someone shouted, 17 inches. "That's right," he said. "How about in Babe Ruth League? Any Babe Ruth coaches in the house? What size is home plate?" Another long pause. 17 inches, came a guess from another reluctant coach. "That's right," said Coach Scalinos. "Now, how many high school coaches do we have in the room?" Hundreds of hands shot up as the patterns began to appear. "How wide is home plate in high school baseball?" 17 inches, they all said, sounding more confident. "You're right," Scalinos barked. "And you college coaches, how wide is home plate?" 17 inches, we said in unison as we got into his little game. "Any minor league coaches here? How wide is home plate in pro ball?" 17 inches, right. "And in the major leagues? How wide is the home plate in the major league?" 17 inches, we shouted. 17 inches, he confirmed, his voice bellowing off the walls. And what do they do with a big league pitcher who can't throw the ball over 17 inches? Pause. They send him to the minors, he hollered, drawing raucous laughter. What they don't do is this. They don't say, oh, that's all right, Jimmy. You can't hit a 17-inch target? No problem. We'll make it 18 inches or maybe 19 inches for you. Or maybe we could even make it 20 inches so you'd have a better chance of hitting it. If you can't hit that, let us make it wider, say 25 inches if we need to. He paused and looked around the room. Coaches, pausing again, what do we do when our best player shows up late to practice? What if he gets caught drinking? Do we hold him accountable or do we change the rules to fit him? Do we widen the home plate for him? The chuckles gradually faded. His head shook side to side and 4,000 coaches grew quiet. The fog of their brains lifting as the old coach's message began to unfold. He turned the plate towards himself and using a Sharpie began to draw something. When he turned it toward the crowd, point up, a house was revealed, complete with freshly drawn door and 2 windows. This is the problem in our homes today, with our marriages, with the way we parent our kids, with our discipline. We don't teach accountability to kids anymore, and there's no consequences for failing to meet the standards. We simply widened the plate. Pause again. Then to the point at the top of the house, he added a small American flag. See, this is the problem in our schools today. The quality of our education is going downhill fast, and teachers have been stripped of the tools they need to be successful and to educate and discipline our young people. We're allowing others to widen the home plate. Where's that getting us? The room by now was dead silent. He then replaced the flag with a cross. And this is the problem in the churches where powerful people in positions of authority have taken advantage of young children only to have such an atrocity swept under the rug for years. Our church leaders are widening home plate. I was amazed and I sat there mesmerized. At a baseball convention where I expected to learn something about curveballs and bunting and how to run better practices, I had learned something far more valuable. From an old man with a home plate strung around his neck, I had learned something about life, something about myself, something about my own weaknesses and about my own responsibilities as a leader. I had to hold myself and others accountable to which I knew to be right, lest our families, our faith, and our society continue down an undesirable path. If I'm lucky, the old ball coach concluded, you'll remember one thing from this old coach today. It is this. If we fail to hold ourselves to a higher standard, a standard of which we know to be right, if we fail to hold our spouses and our children to the same standards, if we are unwilling or unable to provide a consequence when they do not meet the standard, and if our school and churches and our government fail to hold themselves accountable to those they serve, there is but one thing to look forward to. With that, he held home plate in front of his chest, turned it around, and revealed its dark, black backside. And that is some mighty dark days ahead, he said. Coach Scalinas died in 2009 at the age of 91, but not before touching the lives of thousands of players and coaches, including mine. He was the best clinic speaker the ABCA has ever known because he was so much more than just a baseball coach. His message was clear. Coaches, keep your players, no matter how good they are, your own children, and most of all, keep yourself at 17 inches. The coach had been indeed worth the airfare. We all have to remember Coach John Scalinas, and remember that we have to hold ourselves accountable. And we need to hold each other accountable to the team because we have an incredibly important job ahead of us. We are responsible for securing our future. We are responsible for securing our futures financially. In baseball, getting stuck on third base at the end of the game is worth no more than if you never got on base at all. Okay, listen up, everybody. You got to let that old coach's spirit ignite a fire within your soul to leave this world a better place than it was when you got here. I hope you enjoyed today's teaching story, and I thank you for letting me share it with you. And to quote the incredible Mr. Paul Harvey, now you have the rest of the story. Good day. Thanks for joining us. I look forward to seeing you all in the winner's circle. God bless, and make it a great rest of the day. Goodbye for now.